Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be talking about Medici. So, before I do head into my thoughts on the TV series Medici, which airs on Netflix with 3 seasons, just a quick disclaimer. I am not going to have any spoilers in this video. I mean, the show is based off of historical events, based off of real people, so kind of watch this video at your own risk, because I don't really consider historical events and historical people and kind of their fates and whatnot, I don't really consider that spoilers, because it's history and it's well written and well documented, you know, some of these events. So yeah, just kind of watch if you're at your own risk, if you just don't want to know anything about this TV series and the life and times of the Medici family. So yeah. Medici, like I said, it airs on Netflix. It has 3 seasons, and to my understanding, the 3 seasons is it, which I'm a little upset about, because I would have loved to have seen another season, maybe focusing on, another generation of the Medicis or something. So yeah, the Medicis. What is it about? Let me read from my summary that I wrote here. It is a political family drama set in 15th century Florence, Italy, following the Medici family. Season 1 follows Cosimo de Medici, who inherits the banking business once his father dies. And then seasons 2 and 3 follow Lorenzo de Medici and the depths he'll go to secure his family legacy. So what you kind of need to know about Medici, these 3 seasons. Season 1 is focused on Cosimo de Medici and kind of those, not the beginnings of the Medici family, because his father's the one who started the Medici family and the banking business and whatnot. So yeah, we're following Cosimo after his father has died, and him continuing the legacy of the Medicis and continuing to grow the bank and to become one of the top families in Florence. So yeah, season 1 is focused entirely on Cosimo, played beautifully by Richard Madden. And then we take a dramatic shift. Okay, maybe not a dramatic shift, but still. Seasons 2 and 3, we are no longer focused on Cosimo de Medici. Richard Madden is out now, and now we focus on we focus in season 2 and 3 on his grandson. Yeah, right, that would be his grandson. We follow his grandson, Lorenzo de Medici, who history has called the Magnificent. He was kind of one of the great rulers of Florence and really built up Florence and built up literature and art and music and all of that. You know, he was kind of a patron of those things. That's kind of what you need to know. Season 1 is kind of different from seasons 2 and 3, and yeah, seasons 2 and 3 kind of focus on certain characters there. So yeah, there's not really like a running narrative, if that makes sense. There is like a gap there between season 1 and 2. You are focused on kind of a different set of characters. There is a divide there. So yeah, I mean, you could watch season 1 and just simply enjoy season 1. You don't have to watch the other seasons if you don't want to, that's up to you. And then yeah, you can sit and watch 2 and 3 separately by themselves without having watched season 1. You know, it's that kind of show. You can either watch either or yeah, watch all 3 together and get a more deeper, fulfilling, interesting story, I think, if you watch all 3 together, which is my preferred way, obviously. I would prefer if you did watch all 3 seasons. And this show, you guys, oh my goodness, this show is just beautifully, meticulously constructed, I feel like. Just every little detail. The costuming is absolutely gorgeous, and I think for the most part, the costuming looks accurate. I mean, it's always going to be like that on any period piece. Costuming is going to kind of be updated a little bit to be more comfortable for the actors, easier to get in and out of, and yeah, just to look more interesting on the screen, obviously. So yeah, the costumes for the most part look accurate, with some liberties kind of taken here and there. But yeah, gorgeous costuming, the locations, you guys. This is this is an Italian production, like with I think the assistance of the UK, but I think it's pretty much all done in Italy, if I'm not mistaken, because yeah, even the crew, when the crew at the very end credits is going through, even the crew, it's like all Italian names, you know? And yeah, even the actors, there's quite a number of Italian actors in there, but then yeah, there's also a large cast of British actors. But yeah, it is a very heavy Italian production, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I think it even aired in Italy first before it even aired like in the UK, and then here in the US, we got it pretty late here in the US. But yeah, beautiful costuming and the locations. It really lends this beautiful scope and detail to the overall look of the show. I mean, there's some gorgeous shots of people like riding on horsebacks when they're trying to go from one city to the other. And you get these really gorgeous, beautiful shots on people on horseback, and you can see the Italian countryside, and it's just lush and beautiful. And the music, do not get me started on the music of this show. You guys, the music is one of the best damn things about this show. I need the soundtrack. I believe there's a soundtrack available. I'm very tempted to purchase the soundtrack. The music is just soaring and gripping, and there's a particular theme that they play constantly in every single episode, every season. There's a particular theme that is played that it's like the Medici theme, essentially. It's usually played when the family triumphs. It's sometimes, and then yeah, it's kind of played at a certain speed when they triumph, and then like it also plays at a kind of a different speed when the family faces some sort of challenge or a setback or someone dies or something. But yeah, there's this constant Medici theme with the music that's usually kind of played either slower or faster depending on kind of what's going on and what the mood is, and that theme is one of the best elements of this show that really lends heavy emotional weight to what's going on, especially in moments where there's like no dialogue and characters are just kind of sitting around staring. You can read a lot with just the music playing. It really, seriously, it really sets the tone and mood for a given scene depending on the speed of how this Medici theme is usually playing. If you've watched the show, I think you know what I talk about with the theme, the Medici theme. And then also add on top of that, I think the writing is just absolutely gorgeous as well. The writers, they know the story they're telling from start to finish, with each season, and they achieve what they're supposed to. Any loose ends are always brought back together and wrapped up. I think the storytelling is very tight and very focused, and I think moves at a very, very good pace. And just the seasons as a whole, every season is so remarkable, you guys. I will warn you though, I do think you need to be into historical fiction. I think you need to be into historical fiction. You need to be into period pieces. Because, yes, something a lot of times common with historical fiction TV shows like this, sometimes a season can start off kind of a little slow because it's introducing all the characters, introducing kind of all of the major setup that you need. And so, yes, especially here with Medici, I think there is a slow burn with every season, but yeah, once you kind of reach that halfway point of the season, the last half of every season is truly remarkable and just so incredibly fast-paced and action-packed, and just some of the best episodes of television you will watch, I think. And yeah, as far as the historical accuracy of the show goes, I'm no expert on this time period in Italian history. I'm no expert on the Medici dynasty, but whenever I would watch a particular episode, it usually did inspire me to be like, okay, I want to go, look up a few quick details here to see how accurate this was in this particular episode. And I usually did that every couple episodes or so, because something every couple episodes would happen that would be like, huh, did that really happen? So I would go look, like a quick search, and to my knowledge and understanding, I think this show is fairly accurate to a lot of the history. Of course, it's historical fiction at the end of the day. There's definitely liberties taken to make things more interesting, to heighten certain things. Yeah, to tell a better complete story from start to finish for a season, you know, because a season of a TV show has to have kind of a goal and an end goal, you know. So to my best understanding, this show felt very, very historically accurate for the most part. I mean, I'm curious if there's someone out there who's a Medici expert. I mean, did this show not feel accurate to you? did this show suck to you? I'm very curious, because yeah, I mean, it felt very accurate to me. And what the show did that I liked is it would always give you a clue to when you were about to get to a momentous moment in history, because a lot of times they would give you the day and the year and like the day of the week it fell on, you know, if it was a Sunday, you know, it'd be like Sunday, May something of this year. A lot of times that was your clue. You need to really pay attention, because this is something that really happened in history and you're about to get the details on what happened on that day, you know. So I always liked that they gave you, whenever an important moment was coming, they gave you that warning with the little date at the bottom. So let's go through the cast. I always love doing these types of videos and talking about the cast and the characters that they play. Let's start off with Richard Madden, who plays Cosimo de Medici, and Daniel Sharman, who plays Lorenzo de Medici. Yeah, this whole series, it's pretty much Richard Madden and Daniel Sharman's show. You know, they are your primary two leads. You know, even though Richard Madden is just on one season and Daniel Sharman's on two, still, the show is focused on them, since they're the head of the family, essentially, through their generation. That is your focus. That is who you're kind of witnessing this story through, is through their eyes. Yeah, I absolutely loved Richard Madden and Daniel Sharman. Their performances were top-notch. I love them in these roles. Cosimo and Lorenzo, you know, they're separated kind of by a generation, I believe. Yeah, they're separated by a generation, but you can definitely tell they're like part of the same family, you know. It's like the way their performances are, you definitely kind of buy into, hey, these are people from the Medici family. And yeah, Cosimo and Lorenzo, they're not perfect human beings, you know. They're not perfect human beings. A lot of times they do some truly despicable things, and you're like, why would they do that? Especially to the women that they love. We'll talk about the women. Lorenzo and Cosimo do some truly despicable things, all in the name of, you know, they say that they're trying to help secure their family, but at the end of the day, it's really more about securing their legacy. You know, it's about making a historical mark on the record. That way their names and the Medici name is remembered through history. And they succeeded, because we're talking about it right now in this video. This show has been made. These historical people are remembered. Their mission succeeded. You know, even though the Medici dynasty eventually died out, because I got maybe the late 1700s, I want to say their line, when I was kind of looking at like a family tree, I want to say their line kind of died out right at the end of the 1700s, maybe early 1800s, something like that. But yet we still remember those names, Cosimo and Lorenzo, yeah, various other people in the Medici family through the decades. And then moving on to the ladies who give some of the most remarkable performance on this show. We have Annabelle Shirley, who plays Contessina. She's married to Cosimo's character in season 1. And then, please forgive me if I butcher this actress's name, you guys. Her name is Synnøve Carlson, and she plays Clarisse De Medici, who is married to Lorenzo in season 2 and 3. these two actresses, their characters have to put up with pig-headed husbands who have ego, and they are kind of the heart and core of the show to some degree. The two wives, they're kind of your focal point as well, as some of these despicable things are kind of happening around them. And yeah, they are very concerned about their families. They are the most concerned about the people of Florence. And I did seriously, Contessina and Clarisse were easily some of my favorite characters in all three seasons. Just beautiful, incredible, lovely, heartbreaking performances by those actresses. And you guys, let's get to like the guest cast. This show, you know, for a show, for I guess a smaller show in some ways, that's not really that widely known, they sure did get some top-notch guest appearances by some actors. I mean, for crying out loud, Dustin Hoffman, you guys. Like I mentioned earlier, this whole cast is very heavily Italian and British, and it was kind of weird to me that Dustin Hoffman was randomly in there, because I think he's the only American in this entire show, which is just really strange. But yeah, you got freaking Dustin Hoffman, who pops up in season 1 as Cosimo's dad. That was epic. And then you got Sean Bean. I loved Sean Bean in this. He was one evil bastard, but I loved him in this. He gave such a nuanced performance, like he does in just about any role he does. Yeah, even Brian Cox popped up in this show. And then Sarah Parish, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Sarah Parish. I feel like if you watch a lot of British television like I do, you'll know perfectly good and well who Sarah Parish is, because she's kind of a character actor, and she tends to pop up in kind of roles like this. I freaking loved Sarah Parish in this. She has yet to have a performance that I hate. Every performance by hers is amazing, and I loved hers, kind of matriarch of the Medici family. And then, hey, any Merlin fans, anybody who watched BBC's Merlin, you got some Bradley James in this. I loved Bradley James in this. Seriously, such a fantastic cast this show has, you guys. And yeah, I definitely gotta highlight a certain episode in season 2, kind of near the end of the season of season 2. I definitely recommend this show to make it to the Patsy conspiracy. This, oh my goodness, this set of episodes, it was like a 2 or 3 episode sort of thing with the conspiracy to try and murder the Medici family that kind of goes horribly wrong, but also succeeds. It's all very complicated. It's like some things succeed, other things fail. It was just, like I said, it was a big conspiracy to try to wipe out the whole Medici family. It's kind of like the Red Wedding. Let's put it that way, if you've seen Game of Thrones. The Patsy conspiracy is kind of very relatable to the Red Wedding, where they were all trying to take out the Starks in that episode. And so it's very comparable to that. The Patsy conspiracy, I think, is one of the #1 reasons why you need to recommend this show. If I was to just randomly stick in an episode, like to really get somebody into this show, I would probably stick in that episode, because it's easily one of the most jaw-dropping episodes, one of the most heartbreaking and emotional, and you're on the edge of your seat, and it's one hell of an amazing episode, you guys. Oof. So, that's primarily it for my discussion on the Medici TV series here. I definitely recommend the show if you have not watched it already, but if you've watched things like The Tudors and The Borgias, I definitely recommend this show. It might be probably the best of the 3. You guys, I don't, is that too bold to say? I'm trying to think, is that too bold to say? Is this better than The Tudors and The Borgias? It might just be. I've not watched The Tudors and The Borgias in quite a long time, but yeah, I left Medici just being highly impressed, and when I watched the final episode, it provoked me to tears, and I didn't realize how emotionally attached I was to it until I got to the final episode, which is strange. But yeah, if you do, once again, if you love things like Tudors and The Borgias, Medici definitely needs to be on your list. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. And it focuses a lot more on the politics and the story and the characters, whereas sometimes with the Tudors and Borgias, as much as I love those two shows, a lot of times they throw in all the nudity and the sex, and sometimes it's kind of not really necessary. And yeah, Medici does not really focus on that at all. And I also kind of wanted to recommend Da Vinci's Demons, you guys. I kind of hesitantly, because before I even watched Medici, I had watched, because years ago, Da Vinci's Demons aired, and that show was very focused on Leonardo da Vinci, who does make a cameo appearance in Medici, you guys. That show is very highly focused on Leonardo da Vinci, but it was described as being much more of a historical fantasy, and it was very absurd and over the top and very action-packed. A lot of massive historical liberties taken. I feel like if you do like Medici, if you have watched Medici, I definitely recommend going back and rewatching Da Vinci's Demons if you haven't already, just to kind of see a funner, lighter, more silly take on kind of the Medicis, I guess. But yeah, the focus being on Leonardo da Vinci. But yeah, Da Vinci's Demons, it is, I found myself comparing Da Vinci's Demons and Medici. I found myself comparing all the time, because you know, in Da Vinci's Demons, if you've watched it, Count Riario is a main character in Da Vinci's Demons, and he's an antagonist, and yeah, he's an antagonist as well in Medici, but yeah, Da Vinci's Demons had him on for the full 3 seasons, whereas on Medici he's only on for like 5 episodes, I think, which kind of blew my mind, kind of how long he was on, that character, that historical character, how long that character was on Da Vinci's Demons compared to on Medici. And then, yeah, Da Vinci's Demons also focuses on the Patsy conspiracy, but kind of does their version in a completely different way compared to how Medici does it. So yeah, I kind of felt the need to also bring up Da Vinci's Demons, because it does a few similar things that happen in Medici, but yeah, more of a focus on what Leonardo da Vinci is up to. And yeah, before I do end this video, I did want to highlight all of the historical figures that do make appearances in Medici, because they would kind of just pop up, a historical figure would just kind of pop up randomly. Like I mentioned, Count Riario, he's also in this show. His wife, Caterina Sforza, is also in the show, but very, very brief. I definitely recommend watching the Borgias if you want more of Caterina Sforza, if you want to kind of finish her story. You get the artist Botticelli, you get Leonardo da Vinci, you get Michelangelo, and then yeah, I kept waiting for Machiavelli, you guys, because Da Vinci's Demons kind of did the same thing, where they kind of did this big reveal about who Machiavelli was, and Medici does the same thing, that you get this reveal about who Machiavelli is, and yeah, you get Machiavelli eventually in a big reveal, which was kind of great. There's a lot of historical people that make appearances, sometimes for just maybe 1 episode or 2, but they're all there for anybody who's a history buff. So you guys, that is it for my hopefully not rambling review of Medici. I felt like I was kind of rambling here, especially near the end. But yeah, I love this show. It is just so compelling from start to finish. I'm very curious, have you guys seen Medici? Do you plan on seeing it if you haven't already? And yeah, if you have watched it, feel free to talk about spoilers with me, your favorite scenes, your favorite characters, your favorite moments. I would really love to talk about Medici with you guys. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.